Welcome to Hacking Business Technology, the podcast that's not about IT, that is about IT, that isn't about IT. It's anti-establishment establishment. Today we're minus one of the Matts, Mr. Hooper. Actually, he didn't give me an excuse of why he's gone, so I assume that he's quit his job at Ikorio and started another gig at some place called Integrated Service Management or something like that. Welcome, Farah. Welcome, Mark, to the
Hello.
podcast.
Hey.
Thanks for showing up. So before we got started, I was telling a story that Mark has asked me to recount because I have a puppy that's usually sitting right there, and he's not there today, which is kind of sad because puppies are awesome. But he's at what I call a doggy daycare. It's like a place where he can go and run around with other dogs and kind of let loose his energy. They should have these for adults, and they do, and it's called work, but we can't run around at all.
I do.
And they have webcams there, which is another thing that we should have at work, apparently. And so I can spy on my dog. Okay, but number one, the webcam that they have only works with Internet Explorer. And then when I used Internet Explorer, because I have VM on my machine, on my Mac, so that I can use Internet Explorer when I have to, it showed just that picture that shows, hey, this thing isn't rendering right, like it doesn't exist. So I look at the source code for the page, I find the IP address of their webcam, I look up the manual for that webcam type, I find the default admin password for that webcam, and then I'm able to log into this webcam remotely. And I created a second admin account so that if they ever do change that default admin password, I can still get in. And so now, from the comfort of my home office, I am able to spy on my dog being molested and molesting other dogs.
Wow. So, all right. Do you have to sign a waiver, like, to allow your dog to be featured on film or video?
No, you don't.
Okay. So you can pretty much then just redirect and stream it to YouTube if you wanted.
I suppose. Yeah, I could even put it on this podcast. Maybe the next time that we host a podcast, I'll put it on as a trailer.
We can have the doggy day camp Google Hangout in as a fourth guest.
There's probably 4 million dog podcasts already that we just don't pay attention to.
Yes, I'm sure there are. Well,
Actually, in Alberta, you would be surprised. This could be an interesting thing because in Alberta, they have a goose cam. They actually have this camera that's fixated on this goose family, and people actually log in. Like it's one of the most popular websites, and they just watch the goose sit there and protect its eggs, and the eggs hatch, and the chicks come out, and then people get excited about the goose cam. So doggy day camp cam.
act differently. So has there been like a Big Brother at Work show yet, where everyone's filmed all day long at work? That would be good.
That's The Office, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, satirically, of course.
Fake, of course. Yeah, they should do that though. Totally.
I guess that's actually what we're trying to do.
Can you imagine an IT project with with reality TV?
Oh, they were gonna do that with the.
What
Didn't
would happen?
Hornbill do that, or someone did that? Pink Elephant did that.
Oh.
So,
I
what
can't
do you
remember.
think would happen to performance if everyone was on camera all the time and you could watch anyone?
Well, and isn't that what Mr. Dancy? I feel like every time we mention him on the podcast, we have to like cross ourselves or something. That's basically what he said, right? That you need to be able to quantify what you're doing to sort of provide that transparency to your employers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but we're only productive 5 hours of the day, so it would be kind of interesting. Office politics. Would it go up or would it go down if you had a camera all day? Would people get more done, less done? Would people be afraid? Would their true skill sets or lack thereof come out? I mean, interesting.
See, and I think like a decent task management or ERP system would actually provide this.
Yeah.
Like Trello, for example. I can see who doesn't have anything assigned to them, or who hasn't resolved an incident in a week or whatever.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to bring out, to do some data analysis on. I mean, obviously it's harder to do on video than other types of data, but to get deeper information on how employees are doing and what their strengths are and that sort of thing. Sort things out by strength.
And it goes back down to we live in this data, the world full of data, and data is now, it's no longer a luxury. It's just there and it's everywhere, and it's about how we drive wisdom out of it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think a lot of people skip over the data aspect of it. Like they think, like, isn't it pretty common that people say, well, let's just track that. We'll just track, like you were talking about before the podcast, business duration, for example, in a specific ITSM platform, which will not be named. Yeah, I think a lot of people capture that data, but they never they don't realize the benefit of tracking the data ever. They just never get to that point.
It's like, oh, look, I have this wonderful ISO 20000 book that tells me how I'm going to implement it, or a metrics book for that matter, which I think I have somewhere in here. And it's like, okay, so I'm doing this because the book says so. But then what, right? Not to discount books, but, there comes a point where we just got to do, and so much of what we do is common sense, and that's why maybe there's so many shadow IT groups popping up around.
Oh, there was a good tweet about that this morning. She showed 4 different types of work that you do. There's like mundane tasks, technical tasks, creative tasks, and like execution tasks or something like that. And like automation is high on this end, and as you go down, it becomes like all humanity. Innovation was the last one.
Yeah.
And I think like the more that you get into those human ones, the harder it is to use data to track it, like innovation, for example. Mm-hmm. But the results are easy to see. So, like, for example, right now I'm building all these videos about the different processes, about what configuration management is, and I give a decent real-world metaphor for it. And the videos are, like, if I don't produce them, someone knows there's not a video at the end of the day. And I say, okay, it's going to take me a day to make this video. So if at the end of the day I don't send out the link, someone's going to be calling me up and saying, hey, well, assumedly someone will call me up and say, hey, you're not doing your job.
Okay.
I should share those. Actually, I will.
Yes, you should.
About configuration management.
It's really good. It's fantastic because I talk about traveling. How when we used to travel, we had no idea. Like, is there road construction ahead? Are there accidents on the road? Where's the next gas station? Like, we just didn't have that information. You kind of had to wait for the blue sign that said Conoco, next exit. And that really is like a good metaphor for what service component maps give us now in IT, that we can actually see, like, how do we get this service delivered, and is there an incident along that path, and is there road construction?
Right. And based on the data, you can make a decision on an alternate route, right?
Precisely.
So we know that we've figured out that formula. We just haven't figured out how to apply it in more organizational scenarios. We do it now in all the apps that we use.
Well, if people don't take the time, we see this all the time at enterprise customers that are huge. No one wants to take the time to actually map that stuff out. Like, I get it that you've got an architecture group, but they're really kind of more focused on policy and maybe defining standard configurations. No one wants to take the time to map out your legacy ERP system that's been there for 30 years.
It's a certain skill that is needed that I don't think they realize. No one knows the whole picture of what a map of a service looks like, and so you have to coordinate all the groups together. Every group knows one piece. I know what my piece connects to the next piece, but no one has the overall picture unless you have that skill of coordinating everyone together.
Or no one wants to take the money, the financial investment to get to that point, because it takes, for one service, maybe 1,600 man hours. People hours. I shouldn't be gender biased. I'm sorry. But literally, we'll have two consultants sit at a desk, and we'll just keep interviewing people about a service until we actually get it all mapped out, and it can take weeks. Unless you're already tracking it in a program.
So let's apply it, right? Like, let's hack this. I wanna start. Where do I start? What skills do I need? This could be a series of just lunch and learns. I'm sitting in the cafeteria, I'm hanging out with Joe, and let's have a conversation. What do we do? How do we get people to get this going?
I think it starts at a base layer of business criticality. So Let's say, for instance, that we work for a higher education. We'll use Mark as an example here. What's a business critical service at Emory University?
Like a learning management.
Learning management. So then, what you would do is you would start with learning management. You'd say, okay, what is the key point of failure for learning management? Is there a specific server that needs to be on?
Right. Yeah.
And there usually is.
Yeah. We've done that enough times now that we have templates that have the major areas, and so it's easier by just saying yes, no, and having some different options on each one. So it gets easier as you do it, but.
Well, you just have to start. I mean, this takes me to a good Emory memory, which was one of our colleagues, and we were just locked in a room for 8 hours in a day. We were like, sit here, thou shalt figure out an initial draft of a service catalog. And then even the project that Mark's coming off of, I mean, with availability management, some of the stuff that you guys have done was a series of those kinds of things to map out those services, was it not?
Yeah, I mean, we did 35 of them. It was a nightmare.
But you wouldn't believe.
Oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe how much people learned about the things that they're supporting. I mean, just having no idea beforehand. But so yeah, there's tons of value. But I still think there's a better way. I mean, there's got to be a more dynamic, more community-based way to collect that kind of information. I mean, because everyone has a CMDB. Even if, all right, so a lot of people say that. Everyone has a CMDB, even if it's just in Excel. Okay, everyone has a CMDB, even if it's not in Excel. It's just in everyone's minds, right?
Yeah.
So how do you bring that together? You know, like I've seen some of these systems lately that have reporting and analytics with a social component to it where people can give feedback and pass around reports and then decide, you know. I think, Matt, you may have told me about one of them. I mean, so that's a way to get information that isn't stored anywhere else and that's actually relevant because you won't get the feedback if it's not relevant. But so everyone cares about a piece of a service map.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that being said, I mean, you know, we talked, I think, a few weeks or a few episodes ago about bringing more creativity to the space and artists. I just had a vision as you were talking. I mean, you know, we all try and look for reasons to use whiteboards. Why not throw a bunch of stickies at it and, you know, you play the game of hip bone is connected to the leg bone, and it doesn't have to be all at once. Like, if you've got a common area for all your IT folks, throw up a sticky. Hey, did you know this connects to this? And as people are walking and it becomes organic, it becomes an art project, it becomes a legit picture of what's connected to what. I mean, we gotta be creative. It's just, I feel like people think
I think you're hitting on something there. That, like I was saying, that activity of coordination is more of, it's not technical.
right.
It's a different skill set. It could be artistic. It could be.
It's just collaboration.
Yeah, it's collaboration. Exactly. I mean, somebody that's putting together events, you know, a wedding planner could probably do a better job at that than some sort of technical guru. Right?
Yeah, that's true. The thing is that different people work differently, and you can't. I've learned this the hard way so many times. You can't force people to adopt a collaboration mechanism. So whether that be the stickies on the whiteboard, the real whiteboard, a Visio doc, your enterprise ERP system, an ITSM solution, you can't just force it down their throat. And there's always going to be those people that have the fear, if I give up this information, I'll never have a job again, and how will I ever be employed?
I think that's important. I mean, we've talked about social IT for years now. I don't think we've talked enough about how often it fails. I mean, so many organizations try to roll out a social aspect of the different tools they have, and it just falls flat. No one catches on, and it doesn't go anywhere. So like you said, how do you can't force people to be collaborative.
But you know, I think half that reason is because in the implementation of that social platform itself, they put so many restrictions. Like the other day, I was reviewing, I was just working with, you know, a particular client, and I was just thinking to myself, and they were like, oh, well, we wanted to put some access controls in so that no one can update a ticket unless they're a member of that group. And I was like, who the hell cares? Your goal is to resolve incidents ASAP. Shouldn't
Right.
matter who, right? But it's
Like,
so interesting, or knowledge. We
yeah,
don't want them to add attachments, and why not? Have a policy that says if it's an attachment that's specific to blah, maybe you shouldn't have it here. But don't restrict the tool from that because people are going to shy away from using it. Let it be organic. Don't be afraid of it. Let it grow and see how it's being utilized, and then sort it out. I don't know, but I feel like maybe that's one of the many causes of why social initiatives become such a failure because
and
the
that's
first
why
thing
shadow IT develops, right? Because people feel restricted and they need to come up with something that is what they need.
absolutely.
Yeah, that comes back to when Axelos was having those initial discussions overseas about the future of ITIL or whatever it was. I felt really disconnected, like I wasn't part of the RACI chart for that conversation. I wasn't responsible, I wasn't consulted or informed, consulted nor informed, whatever. And so I think if you're gonna develop a platform that 100 people are going to have to use, you bloody well better ask them what they want in the tool.
Yeah. So, one aspect is you can't restrict, but another aspect is just features and functionality. Some tools take off on their own and people just latch onto them and become collaborative because the tool facilitates that in the best possible way. I mean, Snapchat being one of them. I mean, that's a good example. That took off, right? In fact, speaking of Snapchat, I found out how my daughter's using it this week. Okay, because I always thought it was just, teens go crazy on Snapchat, and I really don't want to know what happens on Snapchat, right? So she's at her grandma's right now, and I've been trying to text her all week, and she won't return my text. So finally I said, okay, I'm going to Snapchat her and see what happens. I get an immediate response. So somehow Snapchat allows her to communicate with me in a way that she won't do. She says, I don't text authority figures. Okay, but Snapchat is somehow okay. But in addition to that, she takes her picture, okay, so with the facial expression of whatever she's saying on Snapchat. So it's used exactly like texting, but with a
additional context.
Yes. So if she says, something excited, she'll be like, with this, selfie that's her with a happy face, or if she's saying something, angry at me, she'll make an angry face, and it's just one.
Your daughter.
But so I'm thinking, okay, here's a whole community probably using it in a similar way that maybe they never intended, but it took off on its own in that way.
Well, it's the ephemeral nature of data. Then imagine if you could promise something to your employer and then have that promise deleted 6 seconds later. Right?
Yes.
I mean, that's what I would do every time. So what she probably did is she probably turned off notifications for text messages on her iPhone and turned off the badges for messages on her iPhone and left it on for Snapchat.
Yeah, that's probably right. What if we recalled every email we sent at work like a minute later?
Awesome. That'd be a hashtag kill email strategy.
So funny when people do that. Recall. So and so wants to recall this really embarrassing email that they wrote, and we're not on hosted exchange. You can't do that. I've already got it. I already viewed it.
Well, yeah, but what if you send like, hey, what are you doing for lunch today, and then you recall it a minute later?
Sorry, I didn't really want to go to lunch with you. But imagine how much cooler email would be if it did disappear after like 10 seconds so that, people don't have it cloud their inbox. It's like, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, IBM did a ton. We actually had that in the old ITSM Weekly podcast. IBM did a bunch of research on making data not last forever, like just having files lose bits of information.
That's a TV show, man. Forget Hoarders. They need Hoarders, the data edition.
Well, you can't see it, so there's no dead cats living.
No, you can see it. Trust me, you can see
it. Imagine, like I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh, look, I have this hard drive. Oh, look, I have another one behind me. Oh, man, I have a third. I have one that I just killed. See, look, I have so many. It's awful.
We should definitely be getting rid of external hard drives. I mean, seriously, come on. USB sticks, okay, gone. Okay, so Far, you were mentioning earlier to me, the idea that IT needs to push better technology. by restricting in a positive way, right? So that's another thing. So like there's shadow IT where users get what they need in the way they can. There's also IT encouraging users to do things in a way that is actually better for them when they don't even know it.
I mean, what's interesting to me is I was looking at, I was in Staples actually last week picking up some supplies and stuff, and then I saw this magnetic whiteboard, and my jaw dropped, like, at the price of a magnetic whiteboard. I'm like, dude, I could get like a HD TV for that price. And then it just kind of got me thinking today earlier when we were chatting, and I'm like, it would be kind of cool if every time there was a purchasing request for a whiteboard, it was like rejected. Imagine how much more collaborative, effective it was if we gave IT the money to put in those video conferencing rooms or put in these TVs and being able to do so much more with that. And I think. Corporate organizations, it's not hard to break down those invisible barriers if we think of positive things to get rid of or retire, if you will.
That's interesting. I like that idea. Like, actually give IT the budget needed to provide the same technology that consumers enjoy.
Right. Yeah.
I like that.
Like
Maryville does that. I get a stipend every month. $150, and whatever tech needs I have, I just spend it on it.
There you go. You're like encouraging BYOD in a whole new way,
Yeah. Well, and it's also
Sorry, go ahead.
The other side of it is like IT needs to encourage users to be able to come up with solutions that they can manage on their own, like you're saying, encouraging BYOD. So there's no reason why users should have to rely on IT. We should enable them to self-manage as much as possible.
Productivity consulting.
Partner. Yeah, and partner with IT so that you understand like compliance and regulation and architecture, scalability, like just the basics of technology.
Right. But I think that would tackle what Matt brought up as another one of those constraints, right? So we talked about how we want to remove barriers, that we need to, do all these things, but he hit on something important. Some people just don't want to, use a particular tool or do something a particular way. But by giving them that, here's your $150 budget, or by enabling them, giving them several options to execute a certain outcome, whether it's Evernote or Trello or what have you, then people feel like they have the power to choose. They're still using a better medium than something that's manual. And, now you've got this piece that they feel like whatever they're comfortable with, they get to use, whether that's a social media platform, whether it's Snapchat or what have you. And
I think so. What you need to do is you need a component, another layer above that basically says, okay, you like whiteboards, you can use whiteboards, but when you're done with the whiteboard, you need to snap a picture of it and post it to this. You like Evernote, you can use Evernote, fantastic, but you'll take your notes and they'll automatically upload to this service. Like you sort of need to have a layer removed that says, employee, you're responsible for collaboration on X platform. You can use anything you want as long as it integrates with this.
Whiteboard integration with Evernote forced on you. I love it.
And you put the onus on the employee.
You could set up a camera to automatically take a picture every 20 seconds, and
and the NSA would love it.
Oh dear.
Well, cool. I think we solved all the world's problems today. So we are at the 30-minute mark. If you're watching or you watch this in the future, please get in touch with us. Let us know what you want to see. Let us know what kind of guests you want to see at an Intel Direct or reach out. I think that would be fantastic. But I really want the audience to get involved here. Start letting us know what you think.
Yeah. Reach out to me on Snapchat anytime.
Or on Twitter. Our website is hackbiztech. You can reach us at hackbiztech@gmail.com. Obviously, all of our Twitter handles are on our lower thirds down there. I can point to it. Now you have to like cough or something so it goes to your video. Anyway, so thanks for joining me again this week. Great episode. I love these host-only episodes. Maybe we'll have no guests. Maybe we'll just do hosts only for the next few weeks.
Sounds good. Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
have a good week.
You
Thanks,
guys.
everyone.